You weren't looking for anything. You hadn't planned on buying anything. You just opened the app to kill some time, and 10 minutes later your cart was full. That wasn't weakness. That wasn't irresponsibility. That wasn't a lack of self. It was something much deeper than any of those judgments can explain. It was your own brain working exactly the way it was designed to work. And the problem is that there's an entire industry that knows this better than you do. An industry that has studied your brain for decades, mapped every trigger, every vulnerability, every pattern, and that uses all of it against you every single day with a precision that would be impressive if it weren't so unsettling. But before we get there, I need to ask you a simple question. Think about the last time you got excited about a purchase, not when the product arrived, but before that. Where did most of that excitement actually live? It was in the moment you decided to buy. It was in tracking the package. It was in the anticipation of how you'd feel when you opened the box. And when the product actually arrived, something felt different, less enthusiasm, a satisfaction shorter than you expected. That's not a coincidence, and it's not a character flaw. That's neuroscience. There's a neurotransmitter called dopamine at the center of all of this. And understanding how it works is going to completely change the way you see your own desires. Dopamine is commonly known as the pleasure chemical, but that definition is wrong, and that inaccuracy matters. Research shows that dopamine isn't released when you feel pleasure. It's released when you anticipate something that might bring a reward. It's the neurotransmitter of the chase, not the arrival. That means the peak of pleasure isn't in the product. It's in the full cart. It's in clicking the checkout button. It's in the your order has shipped notification. The object itself arrives after the dopamine party is already over. And your brain knows this, which is why it never rests. The moment a reward is received and the pleasure drops, it starts searching for the next anticipation, the next cycle, the next reason to move towards something. It was built this way by evolution, and the modern world has learned to exploit that design. Scientists call it hedonic adaptation. The speed at which your brain normalizes any new achievement. You buy something you really wanted, the satisfaction lasts days, sometimes hours. Then it becomes background noise. Then it disappears. And the emptiness that's left isn't about the product, it's about the absence of anticipation. It's the same neurological circuit as any dependency cycle, not as a metaphor, as a literal mechanism. Anticipation, reward, drop, search for the next dose. And the consumer industry knows this cycle with an intimacy it will never publish in its annual report, because that knowledge is worth billions of dollars. Every detail of a marketing campaign was designed to trigger the anticipation, stayed inside your brain before your conscious reasoning even enters the room. And that process is faster, more efficient, and more powerful than it appears. It starts with color. The red on sale tags isn't an aesthetic choice, it's a neurological one. Red activates the nervous system, signals urgency, compresses the psychological time you feel you have to decide. Your brain reads red as pressure before you've processed a single piece of rational information. Then comes the countdown timer, offer valid for 2 more hours and 40 minutes. That number isn't information. It's calculated emotional pressure designed to interrupt your analysis and push you into action. Your brain doesn't want to miss something that's about to run out, even if you didn't need it in the first place. And artificial scarcity closes the loop with frightening efficiency. Only 3 units left in stock. Most of the time, it's a lie or an exaggeration, but your brain doesn't stop to verify it, enters alert mode, because losing an opportunity triggers a more intense emotional state than gaining something new. You buy, the urgency disappears the very next second. The product arrives. You use it for a few days, and soon it becomes part of the furniture. And the cycle restarts tomorrow with another product, another timer, another red tag on another screen. Now let's talk about where this cycle gained industrial scale. Social media wasn't created to be a shopping mall, but that's exactly what it became. Except with one advantage no physical mall has ever had. It knows you better than you know yourself. Every click you made, every pause you took on an image before scrolling past, every video you watched until the end, every product you searched for once, all of it feeds a system that learns your behavior and uses that learning to show you exactly what will make you stop scrolling. It's not a coincidence that you see that product on Instagram the day after a quick search. It's systematized behavioral surveillance, converted into personalized advertising, delivered at the moment your emotional state is most receptive. It's surgical, and you're at the center of the target. And beyond the direct advertising, there's something even more powerful happening on social media. There's constant comparison, which doesn't need a single ad to work. You see the lifestyle of hundreds of people every day, and your brain makes automatic, involuntary comparisons before you've given it permission. That comparison creates a permanent state of perceived inadequacy. It always feels like you're one product, one experience, one upgrade behind where you should be, and that feeling isn't about surface level vanity. It's about belonging, about status, about real human needs that existed long before Instagram did. Modern marketing identified this with surgical precision because the most sophisticated campaigns today don't sell products. They sell versions of yourself. They sell the identity of who you'll become after the purchase. They sell belonging to the group that uses it. They sell the feeling of progress even when nothing has actually changed. That car isn't transportation. It's a statement about who you've become. Those clothes aren't fabric. They're a signal to the people around you that you belong to a certain world. That gadget isn't technology. It's proof that you're present, current, relevant, connected, and your brain buys that narrative just as fast as it processes the image. Because belonging and status aren't trivial. They're primitive, deep, essential needs for an animal that evolved in groups where being excluded meant dying. Marketing knows this, and it woos it. The result is that modern consumption doesn't start with a need, it starts with an emotion. It starts with a feeling of incompleteness, of comparison, of anticipation of a better version of yourself. And that makes the decision-making process far less rational than people like to believe it is. Think about how you justify an impulse purchase to yourself. I deserve this after a rough week. This price won't last. It's now or never. I'll use it all the time. It'll be worth it. Every one of those phrases is a rationalization built after the emotion has already made the decision. The limbic system, the emotional primitive part of your brain, decides first. The prefrontal cortex, the rational part, arrives later to create a narrative that justifies what was already decided. You think you're analyzing, but in most impulse purchases, you're just approving what the emotion already chose. And the environment was built to make that happen before you notice. The speed of a shopping app, the ease of one-click checkout, your card details saved automatically. Every detail was designed to eliminate the gap between impulse and action, because inside that gap lives the reflection that could have saved you. And there's an accumulation that happens from all of this, an accumulation that doesn't show up all at once. There are the subscriptions you signed up for on a good idea and forgot about $5 here, $15 there, $20 somewhere else. There's the plan you're definitely going to use. There are the installments where each one seems too small to matter. But the sum of that invisible accumulation creates real weight in your financial life, and more than that, an emotional weight you can't quite name. It's that feeling that things are always tighter than they should be, that the month always feels heavier than it should without a clear reason you can point to. And the broader numbers in the United States confirm this isn't an individual experience. It's a collective pattern. The American personal savings rate has dropped to under 4% of income, meaning most families are saving less than 4 cents out of every dollar that comes in. Total credit card debt in the country recently crossed $1 trillion, a number that sounds abstract until you think about the fact that behind every installment of that trillion is a real person paying 25% interest per year on a purchase that was motivated by an emotion that has long since passed. But I don't want you to walk away from this with guilt. Guilt doesn't change patterns, it just adds more emotional weight to a cycle that's already heavy enough. What changes patterns is understanding, is awareness, is the ability to see the mechanism working before you're already inside it. And the first step toward that is learning to recognize the dopamine state when it starts. That sudden urgency, that certainty of I need this right now, that slight restlessness that comes before an impulse buy, that's the signal. Your brain has entered hunt mode. Identifying that state doesn't mean automatically suppressing the desire. It means creating a conscious gap between the impulse and the action. Researchers recommend what they call a 48-hour pause for any non-essential purchase, and the data shows that most impulses disappear completely within that window because the impulse was never about the product, it was about dopamine. And when the anticipation cycle doesn't receive immediate action, it dissipates. You didn't actually want the product. You wanted the feeling of being about to receive it. And that feeling has a short expiration date. The second step is recalculating the cost of any purchase in hours of work, not in dollar value. That $200 item isn't $200. It's X hours of your life that you traded for money and that aren't coming back. When you put that real weight into the equation, the decision changes in nature. The third step is deliberately putting friction back into the buying process. Remove saved cart details from apps, delete shopping apps from your phone, add one extra step between the impulse and the checkout. Convenience was designed to eliminate reflection, so add friction where it was removed. The fourth step is understanding that suppression doesn't work long term. Your brain is going to keep seeking dopamine from some source that's physiological, not optional. The question isn't about eliminating the stimulus, it's about replacing it with something that activates the same circuit with different results. Intense physical exercise, learning a new skill, goals with visible progress, achievements, you can measure all of these, activate the same reward system as a purchase. The difference is what's left after the dopamine drops. And that difference compounded over time is enormous. There's even a concept researchers call long-term dopamine, the pleasure that comes from building something progressively, from watching a metric grow, from reaching a place you decided to reach. It's harder to access than an immediate impulse, but it's lasting in a way that no purchase ever manages to be. Think about the difference between the dopamine of unboxing a new product and the dopamine of watching a number grow in your investment account every month. Both activate the same system, but one leaves you with an object that loses value the second you use it, and the other leaves you with something that works for you while you sleep. I'm not romanticizing any specific number. I'm not saying consuming is wrong. I'm not preaching deprivation as a virtue. I'm saying there's a brutal difference between consuming with intention and consuming as an automatic response to a trigger someone activated inside you. The first version of consumption is you using your money to build the life you actually want. The second is your money being used to feed a cycle that enriches the people who know how to trigger you with more efficiency than you can perceive while it's happening. And the question that matters isn't about how much you spend. It's about who is making the spending decisions. Is it you, with clarity about what you actually want and why? Or is it a transient emotional state, amplified by an algorithm that profits every time you click place order? That question is uncomfortable because the honest answer for most people is more complicated than they'd like. But it's the right question. And asking the right question is always the beginning of any real change that actually lasts. The future you want to build, whatever it is, however you imagine it, doesn't depend on an extraordinary income that may never arrive at the right moment. It depends on small decisions, repeated, conscious, made every day with what you already have in your hands. Every decision you make with clarity, every impulse you identify before acting on it, every purchase you choose to make because you genuinely want it and not because the trigger was fired. Each one of those choices is a brick. And the structure they build over years is the difference between constant pressure and real freedom. The next time you feel that urgency rising out of nowhere, that pull to just check it out, that itch to open an app without a clear reason, stop for 1 second before doing anything. Ask yourself quietly, is this what I actually want? Or is my brain just chasing the next hit of anticipation? You don't need to have the perfect answer every time. You just need to make the pause. Because inside the pause lies awareness. And awareness, repeated over time, becomes the most valuable thing that exists in anyone's relationship with their own money. The habit of deciding instead of reacting. If something shifted for you in this video, tell me in the comments what you thought and whether you've ever lived any of these patterns without being able to name them before. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the right moment because there's a lot more content like this coming and you won't want to miss it. And leave a like before you go because it helps this video reach more people who need to hear exactly this.